Floating cities. Imagine waking up by the vast ocean, miles and miles of water enclosed around your city. Now close your eyes and take a deep breath. Let the smell of the salty ocean linger while listening to the waves. If you are like me, you feel calm, peaceful, and can imagine nothing more relaxing. The feeling is almost too good to be true. I wonder to myself, could floating city really be real? Could I really visit or even live on a floating city one day? What you are imagining exists truly is real. A city surrounded by nothing more than miles and miles of ocean water, a floating city. However, what if I told you the very place you are standing on, imagining, and truly exists today literally didn't exist about just over a year ago? Mind-boggling, amazing, and unbelievable, isn't it? Floating cities aren't just science fiction or part of a new Disney animated movie. However, some of the world's most innovative scientists and researchers are working to make the ocean our next home, floating cities. This process is known as seasteading, which Wikipedia explains as a practice of establishing permanent settlements on structures located in areas of sea outside the jurisdiction of any country. The Seasteading Institute, a nonprofit organization founded by software pioneer Patri Ferdinand and technology entrepreneur Peter Thiel in 2008, feels the creation of floating cities is a new way to alleviate worldwide problems. This version not only encompasses the bettering of the environment, but individuals as well. According to the Institute, floating nations will restore the environment, enrich the poor, cure the sick, and liberate humanity from politicians. Their tireless and diligent mindsets have shifted the start of seasteading by 30 years and expected to begin in 2020 within the next year. With this idea of seasteading, it's necessary to look into what's leading the discovery of floating cities, what they look like today, and what their potential is in the near future. With our planet drowning in the problems of climate change and overpopulation, floating cities are emerging as a potential planetary safe lifesaver. According to the New York Times, dated on March 14, 2016, sea levels are rising at the fastest rate in 28 centuries. It is projected that more than 13 million people in the U.S. can and will be affected by this problem. Not only will individuals be displaced, but greater populations, relocations to certain areas will worsen the problem of overpopulation. A study done by Climate Central, a climate change research organization, has predicted that if a 20-foot sea level rise were to happen, Louisiana would lose its boot, and other areas such as Ocean Drive, Miami, and Venice Beach would literally be under the water in the future. By 2100, the major cities and approximately 100 million people are expected to be exposed to chronic flooding. Because of higher possibilities of coastline loss, the relocation for people affected will be around $14 trillion, according to the research done on relocation estimates for Alaska coastal residents, as stated in the New York Times on March 14, 2016. Overpopulation is rising concern with the limited resources our planet has. According to the BBC on November 29th of 2017, about 3 million new people move to live in the cities each week, which is equivalent to the population of Minneapolis-St. Paul metro area. To put that into a perspective, imagine the numbers increasing weekly and creating new metropolitan area of Los Angeles every month. 60% of the world's population will be living in cities by 2030. These megacities will have to deal with climate change along with rising sea levels because 90% of the world's largest cities are located near a waterfront. Therefore, floating cities are a possible solution to address these problems. Research has shown the importance of floating cities. Therefore, that Seasteading Institute is currently working on a floating city project. The Institute joined in collaboration with French Polynesia to start seasteading. The project entails several different phases. The first phase is brainstorming on where the location of the city should be. The second is to design a phase where the ideas are enhanced and finalized for potential host nations and investors. Floating cities will be compromised at a high level of rectangular and five-sided patterns that are the ability to be arranged to satisfy the residents' needs, like a floating jigsaw here in this picture. Besides that, there are numerous solar panels carefully placed throughout the city, such as one circle here in this picture. Lastly, the third being the current phase compromises creating an economic analysis of benefits to display the French Polynesia. Teamwork among researchers, marine biologists, nautical engineers, and environmentalists strive to build seasteads to host profitable aquaculture farms, floating healthcare, medical research islands, and sustainable powerhouses. Their goal is to maximize groundbreaking freedom to create blue jobs to welcome anyone to the next new world, as mentioned in Seasteading Institute. The reason why this project involves the French Polynesia is because it's less expensive to build a city in shallow waters near an existing nation. It will allow easier transportation for residents to move to and from the seastead. French Polynesian faces a threat of sea level rise, so if this project proves to be successful, it will benefit the country and allow it to exist longer without the worry of disappearing. Besides the Floating City project, other buildings have already been established by trying to help alleviate the problem mentioned earlier. For example, South Korea has a floating recycling center called the Plastic Fish Tower. This tower attracts the plastic to reduce the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It collects the recycles and plastic from circular floating fence around the sphere and can accommodate people to live in the outer rings of each facility. Other similar structures would be ocean scrapers. The Siberian design team created this in hopes to reduce the trash and recycle that to produce energy. These floating innovations help the population along with lessening the environmental problems. The idea and engineering that goes into these projects have multiple uses instead of one. In addition to the effects of other countries, Vincent Cabolet was among the top 50 for Green Planet architects. Like the Seasteading Institute, he designs building with the future in mind. The lily pad is one of his many creations and functions as a floating apocalypse. It's able to hold 50,000 inhabitants and allows wildlife and plants to flourish around the central lagoon. The houses lie among the vast gardens and the streets are lined with greenery. The intended goal is to create a pleasant coexistence among humans and nature. The structure is inspired by Amazonian Victoria Riga lily pad, an aquatic plant from the family of Nymphus. The plant has high plasticity, made from polyester fibers, covered by titanium dioxide. Cabolet was able to integrate different renewable energies and maintain a balance with zero carbon emissions, resulting in more energy produced than consumed. His outlook on the future shaped his mindset to think bigger than just the present. Dubai is known for several grand tourist attractions, such as the world's largest building indoor theme park, largest indoor ski slope, and mall. Not only is Dubai known for attractions on land, but they are also known for the first creators of artificial offshore islands, such as a world and palm geranium. According to the Telegraph, Dubai is working on building a floating replica of Venice, which is started in 2018 and is expected to be finished by 2020. The country is also aiming to make the world's first underwater luxury resort. This structure is estimated to have a lifespan of a century, with the minerals being marine, lightweight, with a mix of concrete. At Rotterdam, a city in the Netherlands, a structure called the Floating Pavilion is also built, which appears to be 3 connected bubbles. designed by Delta Sync, the Republic Domain architects to aim to reduce carbon emissions by 50% and adapting to rising sea levels. By 2040, Rotterdam strives to have 1,200 out of 13,000 climate-proof homes to be floating. The heating and air conditioning systems rely on solar energy, and the water is purified at the pavilion, so there are no more harmful effects, as seen here in the picture. The ocean covers more than 70% of the surface of our planet, yet aside from cruise ships and aircraft carriers, this is untapped resource. With the development of floating cities, a whole ocean of possibility lies ahead of us. The partial use of the 70% of our ocean waters will help to eliminate many problems our planet faces through the idea of floating cities. How would our planet look in 30 years after the development of floating cities and seasteading? With population rates, climate change, and environmental changes, something has to be done, and research of seasteading appears to be the solution to this wonderful planet future problems.